in the system today. It's one of those things, man. Those gremlins, they get in the system, and you have things to deal with. So look, I want to bring back a guest that we had on yesterday, trying to get a couple of things accomplished. And we had a great talk, but you really couldn't hear it because of all the technical difficulties we had. And it really, really ticked me off. And we'll pick up, hopefully, where we left off with Mr. Bart Marcosis. And I'm going to bring him on, see how this works. So let's see. Okay, let's go over here and hello, Bart. Hello. Hello. Uh-oh. Jeff Berkowitz. Hello? Jeff.
I'm here.
Okay, Jeff Berkowitz. Jeff Berkowitz is going to be with us.
Hey, how are you doing?
Jeff practiced law for 10 years, taught economics at State Econ Department at Indiana University. Give him a little credit for Indiana University. Ohio State, I wouldn't put that on a resume, being a Michigan man. Hosted a weekly 30-minute political TV interview show for the last 20 years, including Obama, having Obama there 6 times, Rahm Emanuel, and 2019 mayoral candidates, as well as Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, who's ridiculous. Anyway, hey, how you doing, man? How you doing, Jeff?
It was 900 others that you didn't mention. I thought I would just list them all. We'll just read them on 11.
Well,
Just kidding.
So,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. John Bolton gets fired yesterday, and we are trying to still work through what happened. I mean, John says he resigned. The president says no, he got fired. Doesn't make any difference. He's gone. But look at my good buddy Jeff Sepp Gorka.
It was the Monday Night Massacre, I think.
Well, not really. I mean, people revolve through that.
What
door.
About Gorka?
People revolve through that door all the time, and it's just that it was his time to go. So he's gone, unfortunately. But John, John is a hawk, and I like having John Bolton there. And we'll see what happens next. But I tell you, how did you feel about the president inviting the Taliban to a secret meeting at Camp David without the Afghan government?
It was the whole negotiation process has not been handled well, and that was probably the stupidest thing anybody. Americans, to which the Taliban was intimately involved with. What the hell was the president thinking?
I don't know what he was thinking, but I tell you, it didn't go over well. It didn't go over well with a lot of Americans, both Democrat and Republican. I know I had, and right before 9/11, I mean, give me a break. What was he? I don't know what Trump was thinking about. When he does things like this, it calls into question.
So then he fires the guy. He fires the guy who objected to it. Apparently, so you get rid of the one guy who made sense, who was arguing against this whole damn thing. I mean, this is not one of the best weeks. I mean, you tell me, Charles. Does that make any sense to you? Why would you fire Bolton?
Well, obviously, John Bolton.
You think they were just coincidental? He was firing for something else.
John Bolton wasn't. Well, he said the Libyan. He talked about the Libyan model, and that certainly wasn't what the president wanted to talk about. Remember, he talked about the Libyan model. The president.
Yeah, but you could work that. You could work that out. I mean, you could wrap him on the knuckles a bit. You don't have to fire the guy.
Well, that's what you.
I mean, maybe it was a mistake in. That's what,
That's what you and
So,
I say, but
it's not the end of the world. It's not like, I don't think.
well, that's what you and I say, but Trump got rid of him, man. I mean, he just, he's fired the dude. So I don't know. So who are you going to have on your show coming up?
Oh, no, he's.
Hello? Hello?
Who am I going to have on my show?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, who you going to have on your show, man?
Stephanie Tressel's going to be taping this week. Stephanie, you know Stephanie.
I do. She's a good person.
She's been trying out to replace. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Charles.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, okay. Talk.
So we're airing this week. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, talk, man.
I can hear you, but sort of intermittently.
I'm not talking. Go ahead and talk.
Okay. We're going to have Charles Love on this week. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk. Okay. We're having Charles Love on this week.
Okay.
And we just started airing him in Chicago. You know Charles Love. He's he is a co-host on WIND, John Anthony.
Right.
And he aired in the suburbs. The airings on multiple outlets here in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about how to fix Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Chicago's got some problems with violence, with education, with skill. Fix them all.
Listen about that. And that's the stupidest thing that I continue to hear. We talk about, you don't educate people to do jobs. People are trained on the job. If you want somebody to learn plumbing, you don't learn plumbing sitting in a classroom. You don't learn coding, a computer, writing code sitting in a classroom. Those are just distractions from people getting employed and getting jobs. It's the stupidest thing. It's a strategy that is employed by people who've never worked or don't know how to work or don't know how to get things done. So anybody who talks about education, we need to educate. No, you need to train people. If when I was a pilot in the Navy, they trained us how to fly. We didn't have to have any flight experience to become pilots. They trained us how to fly. And it continues to go on and on and on with this ludicrousy that somehow sitting in a classroom, you're going to teach somebody to do something. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And it continues to be promulgated by liberals, especially liberals and conservatives alike, which really pisses me off.
Well, don't you have to get some kindergarten through 8th grade education and then 9th grade through 12th grade at Michigan? So you learn stuff there. So before more specific training, accounting or medicine or supplementary training. What we're talking about is, when you're being educated from 5 to 18, that's part of training you, because if you don't learn how to read then, as many people don't in the Chicago public schools, we can't begin to train them on plumbing or
you really can. It's just a matter of.
You say that's silly to talk
it's
about
just a matter
education.
Of because it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in the last. We've been talking about education since the 50s and educating Black people. Black people have steadily fallen behind, waiting on white folks to educate them. We did very well when we had segregated school systems and we had segregated schools, and Black education and Black people were educated better in segregated settings. I don't believe in integration. I don't believe in forced busing. I don't believe in forced integration. I think it's a deceptive tactic that has failed. And you know, people don't become friends, or people don't become smarter going to school with dumb white kids. I say, if you want to go to school with anybody, go to school with Asians. Be bused to where the Asians are, not these dumb white kids. They're dumber than dirt.
Well, Charles, you're always humorous.
Well, I'm always hey,
no,
Jeff.
the problem,
Jeff, one of the things is I'm
problem
always
the last 60
factual.
years
I'm
has
always
not been
factual.
integration.
I am
The
always
problem-
hey, Jeff. I'm
Go ahead.
always I'm
I don't
always
cut you off.
facts. I'm always factual is what I am. And the bottom line is white kids are declining in every educational matrix that we've had over the last 10 years. These kids have developed this, what we used to call the surfer boy syndrome. The Asian kids are excelling, and that's why you have the state of California trying to place quotas on the Asian kids attending the UC school system. So what I said, while it may be alarming, is very factual.
Well, I disagree, Charles, because you mentioned in the 50s things were better. If they were,
for black people, for black people,
years, because of the growth of teachers unions.
No.
So the black folks who are having trouble are not because maybe sometimes they're in integrated classrooms.
It is
but they're
because
now dealing with teachers who are part of a union.
No.
And these teachers unions have made education less effective.
No, it's because they're in integrated schools. They're bussed around, and they're become pawns of. They've become pawns of liberals and Democrats and talking about going to school with white kids. These neighborhood schools have been underfunded, under-resourced, and they've always been underfunded and under-resourced. And instead of putting money in these neighborhood schools and in schools in black communities, they bust these kids out of their communities into hostile environments where they're not wanted, where they're never accepted, and they don't have a good educational experience. I know what I'm talking about. And and I can prove what I'm saying, because guess what? Black kids who are forced bust into white schools never come, let me repeat, never come back for reunions, never identify with those schools because they had such hostile experiences in those integrated settings. And that's why I've always said Democrats are the most racist people that I've ever had to deal with in my life, having experienced that whole liberal Democrat parental thing. Oh, no question.
You got your facts wrong.
No, I don't. I have my experience. I have my experience right.
You do have your facts wrong.
Well, tell me why.
Can I explain something?
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Do I get a chance to say anything?
Yeah, tell me why. Tell me why. Well, you should listen, because you certainly can't talk.
Number one, Charles, we spend 80%. We stopped doing busing about 35 years ago.
That's not true.
The busing that occurs is not to take people from one part of the city to the other.
It is.
It's to take them to their neighborhood schools.
That's not true.
Maybe 2
That's
miles.
Not true. That's not true.
Long. So this kind of busing you're talking
that is not
about
true.
stopped 35 years
That's
ago.
Not true. The city of Chicago.
That's number one.
Wait a minute. The city. Wait a minute. First of all, we have to stick to the facts.
No,
First of all, the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago was a federal decree, or the city of Chicago is still under a federal decree to integrate their schools. They've been fighting this under Daley. They spent something like $50 million the last time.
But they're not integrating them. 80% of the people there are black. How can Charles? How can you integrate something?
Not the teachers.
80% of your enrollment is black.
Because
there's no way you could do any kind of integration there. I mean, there's some, but I mean, don't you realize you don't have a mix? You don't have like 50% white and 50% black. You have 80% kids who are minority, who are either Hispanic or African American. I mean, get with it, Charles.
I'm definitely with it. I'm definitely with it. I'm looking right here. I was bused to school. This is July 2019. This is in the Tribune. This guy's talking about, I was bused to school. It wasn't enough.
Wait, well, you were bused to school when? You were bused to school like 100 years ago. You're not a young man.
No, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about an article. I'm talking about an article that I'm reading. I'm talking about an article that I'm reading. And no, I wasn't bused to school. And I went to my neighborhood school. And the article is
Okay.
talking about how they had to go across town, a 40-minute ride across town in a school bus, and the hostile environment they encountered. And they talk about, and they also talked about, and this is just last month that they're talking about this. Now the federal decree, and you're right, the demographics of.
Where was this article? Who's the author? They
This
got
is
it
in
wrong.
Chicago. This is in the Sun in the Tribune, and the author is a lady
What?
named Nancy Kaffer. She's a Tribune content person, contributor. So
I don't know, Charles. Maybe they bust 10 kids for some reason. They got 360,000 kids in CPS. Tell me the number of the 360,000 who were bused. Don't tell me a story about one anecdote.
Well, I'm talking. What I'm telling you.
Tell me how many kids.
What I'm telling you is that when we did try to do stories on this, and when Rufus Williams was president of CPS, and we were getting information about who was being bused, they have a federal Chicago is still under a federal decree to have the proportion, the racial proportion.
When was Rufus there, Charles? When was Rufus there?
Wait a minute. Let me. We're talking about 2010. You're talking 2010, 2011. That's not ancient history. And the people who were on the board. 2010, 2011.
Rufus was there in 2010 on the board?
He was the president. He was the president.
What was his position?
He was the president of CPS. I know what I'm talking about because Rufus is a good friend of mine. And so we moved further. People who were on the board.
President of the board. He was president of the board.
Yeah, and so Rufus, when he was trying to get things done under Daley.
Okay, so tell me how many students were being bused.
I keep telling you that see you
give me that number.
You know what? This is my show, and you need to answer my questions. I'm asking the questions. The bottom line is, and I'm trying to tell you that
hear me because you're getting cut out.
That information has been suppressed and is suppressed by Daley and by Rahm Emanuel. Just like when I used to do. I used to do segments of how many CPS school age children were being shot every year, and it was over 200 kids every year. When Rahm Emanuel became mayor, he stopped giving that information out. I couldn't even get the information under the Freedom of Information Act. In fact, a friend of mine who worked for ABC News had to threaten to sue CPS to get that information. So when you start asking about information, Chicago is notorious for lying about information, and the FBI would not, for years, for like decades, wouldn't accept the crime statistics from Chicago because they lie so much. That's just a fact. So when you ask me how many kids are being bused, that's information that I would love to have. We're under federal, and I know this. We were under a federal decree up until 2012, 2013, where they wanted, where the federal government said that the racial proportion of teachers hired should be in the racial proportion of students in the system. And that has never been. So you have maybe black teachers are 40% of the teachers in the school system. The other folks are 60%. Whereas the children are what? Like you said, it's 89% minority. I don't know how many of those are black. It's probably 60% of those kids are black.
I think it's about 40% black, 40% Hispanic, 20% white and Asian, roughly. Don't know exactly.
You think is that many Hispanic kids?
Sorry, didn't hear you. It was cutting out.
It's okay. You think it's that many Hispanic kids?
I have a little technical issue. I couldn't hear it. What you said, Charles?
I said you think it's that many Hispanic kids in the school?
Yeah, it might be like 50%. Yeah, because the Hispanic growth has been, as you know, substantial in Chicago, both from legal and illegal immigrants. Okay, so you look at the number of aldermen now who are Hispanic. That stuff is redistricting and all of that. So it's a large number.
Right.
It's either 50, 30, 40, 40.
Okay.
But the main thing is, Charles, and I mean this with respect. I know you, and you're a great guy. I don't mean to be disrespectful. but just being serious here, is that I really don't think there's substantial busing going on in CPS. And I guess, I think they're not giving us the figures. We got to get that. I think it's a very small amount of when you say busing, I know what you're referring to. You just said, busing, I don't know, 20 miles. There's a certain amount of a lot of the busing is simply in schools, and kids are picked up, a mile away, and they're brought to that school. That's the kind of busing that goes on. So, and I do believe that kids, Black and Hispanic and low income, are not being well educated in CPS. I think you have obviously a legitimate grievance there, and I support that. And I think the main cure for that, Charles, would be to have an expansion of charter schools, an expansion of school vouchers, because we're spending now, and this I know is a fact. They just passed the budget a few weeks ago for CPS, and it's about $7.7 billion with a B, and it's about 360,000 students. If you divide the number of students into the 7.7 billion, you get about $21,100 per student. That's quite a bit. If we could give the parents a voucher, you can take that 21,400 and go to the school of your choice. There'd be lots of new schools that would arise, entrepreneurial, that I think a better job of teaching kids, especially how to read. I mean, a number of people agree the percentage of kids, especially of minorities, Hispanic and Black level, whatever grade level you pick, is about 30%.
Right.
And 70% aren't. And that's an awful statistic, because if kids don't know how to read, they can't begin to do any of the things that you and I agree they should have the opportunities to do. But we're not going to change that until we have competition, until we have people coming in who say, we can do this reading better. And, when you give 21,000 per kid to them, if you and I were doing this, and you're a smart guy, so we could put together a school in short order. Say you have 20 kids in a class times 20,000, that's $400,000 to teach those kids in that one classroom. If you had a one classroom school, you don't think, Charles, you and I could teach those kids how to read? Hell, I would just let you do it, because you do a better job than I. And I'd put my money down on you to do a swell job, a much better job on teaching kids how to read. You could teach them how to do, but the most important thing would be teaching how to read. So, and, I know you care about African American, Asian, white. We got to do that. I mean, you know where you went. KC was good. And I know you went to the University of Michigan.
But the thing is, we didn't sit in class. We didn't. I
just want to do for other kids,
but we didn't.
Somebody did for you.
But we didn't sit in class and learn to read.
You're my prototype, Charles. If I can turn out everybody like you, we've cured the problem, haven't we?
We didn't sit in class and learn to read.
Pardon?
We read at home.
I'm so sorry. You're just cutting out. I can't hear what you said.
I said we did not sit in class and learn to read.
You read at home, but didn't you go to school during the day and learn how to read as well?
No. We read at home.
What did you do when you went to school, when you were going to grade school?
No, we did not read in class. I don't remember reading in class. I remember maybe analyzing a story or doing, but we did not.
You were taught by your parents how to read? You were taught by your parents?
Yeah, I was reading when I went to kindergarten. Hello?
So you were taught at home, and when you were, I don't know, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old?
I was reading when I went to kindergarten. When I went to kindergarten, I was reading. Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay, but the problem is now, I think, Charles, and you would know better than I, but I think in many neighborhoods, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
let me try to put you on my speakerphone. Maybe that'll work.
No, don't put me on speakerphone. No, don't put me on the speaker.
Charles?
Yeah, go ahead. Don't put me on the speaker.
Better? I just put you on my speakerphone. Is it better?
Yeah, it is better. Yeah.
Okay. Took my earpiece out. Maybe it'll work better. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Took the earpiece out. For some reason, that was hurting it. Here's the problem, I think, Charles. Probably a good family and good parents who were able to teach you how to read. Okay? And I don't think we have that in many cases now in the city of Chicago.
We don't.
I'm not saying the parents are bad. They may not be capable of teaching their kids how to read.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have kids how to read. Okay. And so we have to incentivize that. And the way we incentivize that is say, here's $21,000 that we're spending from the local taxpayers. You add them all up, it's $21,000. Give them a voucher. Let them go to a charter school. They want to stay in the school they want. They can do that. If they want to go to a new private school that's arisen, they can do that. The metaphor I use, Charles, is I say take the $21,000, put it in a backpack, give the backpack to the parents, whether it's a single parent or two parents.
Okay.
And they put it on the kid, and they send the kid to either the same school, the public school, if they like it, or they send them to a charter school, or they spend less time. You'll start seeing reading scores, and that'll happen next year. And before you know it, these kids will be educated well enough so they can learn trades if that's what they're going to do, or learn additional things. I mean, it is all, you're right, skill development, but you can't get at the skill development, whether it's vocational or otherwise, until these kids can read. And you know why it's not happening, because the teachers' unions are very powerful. The Democratic Party is a fully owned subsidiary, I guess, in large part, of the teachers' unions, and they jack up the salaries. They're way too high. We have all these problems in the schools. We had all of those sexual assaults that the Tribune wrote about for the last 10 years that were covered up.
Okay.
So kids are getting raped. They're getting harassed. And so it's all terrible, Charles.
Okay.
They're spending a lot of money and they're not getting the money for it. This is they should get for the money they're spending.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on, JB. It's been good. It's been good. It's been good talking to you.
All right.
So we will get
I couldn't hear you much of the time. We're still having a little technical problem here.
So is this better? Am I coming through better or worse?
You're still. No, you're going in and out. I mean, I hear I wasn't being disrespectful. I can only hear half the words you were telling me.
Okay, well, I hope it works better for my next guest. So look, I'm going to run, but thanks again. Thanks again for being with me. Appreciate it. Okay.
I hope so too.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, folks, we're going to bring on Colonel Rob Maness, and he's the executive director of the Military Veterans Advocacy Group, a former U.S. Senate candidate and a retired Air Force colonel. And we're going to welcome him. He's going to talk to us about toxic exposure. Hello, Colonel. Colonel Maness. Hello. Colonel Maness, how are you?
Yes, I'm getting.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm getting. You're breaking up a